So this is the second installment of Haiti on Our Mind. So thank you so much for coming. I'm gonna introduce my co-organizer and the host of the event, Jordan Sturtwick, in a bit. But before that, I want to go over some of our upcoming events, so that we'd love to see you there. On Friday, we have a book event. It's Prose to the People. It's a new book that is coming out by author Katie Michelle. It's a photography book that highlights the stories of Black-owned bookstores all over. She's going to be in conversation with Mr. Paul Coates. The event is going to start at 6:30. It's going to end at 8:30. It's going to be wonderful. If you want to take a look at the copy, we have it available at the front. If you want to buy it, we have it available as well. We have that coming up. On Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, we have Supreme Revelations, The Beginner's Guide to Mind Expansion by Toussaint. And you'll be hearing conversation and going over that book as well. If you want to get that book, we have it in store, or you can order it for pre-sale. The same thing with Prose to the People on our website, sankofa.com. In the evening of Saturday, April 12th at 7 p.m., we will be honoring the great Paul Robeson. We have a film screening and a discussion planned. The event is titled Honoring the Tallest Tree, Paul Robeson. The event will be moderated by Dr. Greg Carr. We'll be screening that film as well. So again, we would love to have you there. And on Sunday, we have Artivism performs on Tuesday nights. They're mostly Howard kids, and Amplify will be hosting a Tiny Desk style series, music series here. Tickets will be available online on the website as well. So that is what we have coming up for next week. So thank you so much for giving me your time, and I'm going to invite Jordan to the stage now.
Good evening, family. Good evening. Welcome to Haiti on Our Mind, presented by Haile Garima and Sankofa Video, Books, and Cafe. For those who have not been here before, welcome to Sankofa. For those who are returning, welcome to Sankofa. Founded by Shrikiana and Haile Garima and named after the revolutionary film Sankofa that they produced, Sankofa is a liberated territory that holds space for the empowered cultivation of our minds. Through books, films, and programming generated by and about people of African descent, Sankofa works to make a way for us towards freedom. I'm Jordan Cato Strudwick, one of the producers of this evening's Haiti on Our Mind event. Maritu, my co-producer, who already introduced herself in the back with the hat, is there. And this is Abel working the camera. He'll be handling all of our technology for the evening. Thank you for being here with us. Baba Haile envisioned the On Our Mind series as a platform for our community to gather in solidarity with the intersecting liberation struggles of our people who are fighting around the world against parasitic capitalism and imperialistic neocolonialism. His vision was to create a space for emancipatory art and dialogue that orients us towards the amplification of our liberation struggles. What has emerged is an empowered space for us to come together regularly as a community to share art, music, scholarship, and conversation that construct solidarity and raise our collective consciousness as we seek to understand these interlocking global struggles and to navigate our own place and our own responsibilities within them. As Sister Maritu shared, we began this series in July with Gaza on Our Mind, and we hosted Gaza on Our Mind every other Sunday for several months. Beginning in September, we expanded our gaze to Sudan with Sudan on Our Mind, Congo with Congo on Our Mind, and Haiti with Haiti on Our Mind. This Haiti on Our Mind is our 15th installment in the On Our Mind series. Since our first Gaza on Our Mind, all donations raised through this series have gone to WPFW 89.3 FM Washington Jazz and Justice Radio. Haile made this decision to honor WPFW's relentless advocacy on behalf of the human rights of people around the world. WPFW has been the loudest anti-imperial voice in Washington, D.C. for 48 years, and we honor that work here. Today, we have a gathering to be grateful for, an evening stewarded by none other than the great Eugenia Charles. Eugenia Charles is the producer and host of the brilliant WPFW show Convit Lakai on every Wednesday at 89.3 on your FM dial or at WPFWFM.org from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. She is a razor-sharp political analyst and a scholar, activist, warrior who lives and breathes the work of bringing about the next great triumph of the Haitian people over those who would see them commodified, objectified, and controlled. Before we get to the gift that is Mama Eugenia, we have another great gift, a performance by Joseph Franz Louise, also known as Creole Fun Fun, an internationally acclaimed Haitian artist celebrated for his dynamic performances and unique compositions that blend jazz, reggae, Haitian folk songs, and Brazilian and African rhythms, creating a truly Pan-African sound. His career as a founding member of the Grammy-nominated Boukman Experience, the lead guitarist for DC's Own Image Band, and performer across North America has been extraordinary, and we are excited to have him here with us this evening. Opening up today's Haiti on Our Mind, please welcome to the stage, Joseph Franz Louise, aka Creole Fun Fun. I think this brother over here was right to stand up one more time for Creole Fun Fun. Now I have the privilege of introducing Eugenia Charles. Eugenia Charles is the host and executive producer of Convit Lai, a socio-political Haitian radio show that airs on WPFW 89.3 FM every Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. in Washington, D.C. WPFW is a station of the Pacifica Radio Network. She's also the executive director of Fondation Mapu, a faith-based organization that promotes Haitian culture, education, environmental wellness, and human rights. Fondation Mapu advocates restoring Haiti's value while connecting people with similar struggles. Ms. Charles is a political analyst and organizer who uses her professional experiences to help dispel negative stereotypes of Haiti while providing an in-depth analysis of the country's condition and to advocate for change. Mama Charles has collaborated and maintained contact with a wide range of non-governmental organizations, grassroots groups, academics, congressional staffers, international institutions, and government officials inside and outside of Haiti. She was a guest at the UN Security Council Formula on Haiti, presenting on the country's condition and the impact of various policies on the country. She's led several delegations to Haiti and fact-finding teams that focused on democracy, economic justice, and human rights. She's appeared on numerous news channels around the world, internationally and locally, providing expert analysis on Haiti. She's been a guest on numerous radio shows advocating for the Haitian people's rights to a better standard of living and a change in U.S. policy towards Haiti. And she is the co-editor of the book, Let Haiti Live, Unjust U.S. Policies Towards Its Oldest Neighbor. That's her official biography. I would emphasize that this is somebody who lives this work every single day. Anytime anybody reaches out to her saying, hey, we're trying to support the Haitian people, she's there providing everything that she can within her power. She's a true warrior for her people, and we're grateful, so grateful to have her here with us this evening. Mama Eugenia Charles.
Wow, I'm speechless. Was that all me? I am just a mama who's looking to do things for the country. Good evening, everybody. Bonsoir tout le monde. Bienvenue dans Kaila. Oh, you see, there's some Haitian here who understand. Excellent. Okay, aïe bobo, aïe bobo. I salute the ancestors and I ask them to open the door for us to lead us into this conversation this evening. I salute each and every one of you who's present here today and the deity within you who allows you to come here tonight to listen, share, and take us. I'm going to bring us the other folks, Dr. Wangatsu, Miss Valentine, so I am truly honored to be accompanied this evening and a wonderful sister, both from Kenya, to share with us insight about how they are feeling about Kenyan soldiers being in Haiti. But before we do that, I want to honor a man who we call the leader of the Haitian Revolution. That is none other than Toussaint Louverture. Toussaint was the guy who fought during the first settlement of our revolutions to allow Haiti, back then Saint-Domingue, to become a free nation in 1801. He wanted Saint-Domingue to remain a colony of France, but for the Black people to be free and be able to cultivate their lands, participate in the economy, have an educated society. He was tricked by Napoleon, invited into a meeting. He was captured, taken to Fort de Joux in France, where he died in that cold fort. They didn't feed him. They tortured his wife. When Suzanne Louverture left Haiti, she was weighed about 300 pounds. By the time she ended back in Jamaica, she was on 90 pounds. His children were tortured to provide information about his wealth and secrets about the country, how the revolution was going. A lot of time when we talk about Toussaint, we look at his ability to be the greatest diplomat who ever existed. He used his connections and knowledge with different countries, people, to gather information, ammunition, to help Haiti become independent. And one of the things that we are dealing with with the international community today is the right to purchase lands in Haiti. Toussaint drafted the first constitutions that prohibited foreigners from owning lands in Haiti. Since that constitution, we have gone through numerous constitutions. Many of them, except the 1805 constitutions, has been written for us, not by us, with the sole purpose of allowing foreigners to be able to purchase lands in Haiti to get access to our natural resources. So we want to take a moment of silence to honor this great warrior who gave his life for the nations, but who knew before he was captured that he had already set up all the necessary ammunitions and people in place to carry the struggle, to carry the fight into January 1st, 1804. Thank you. Jordan, you're going to join me tonight? Or are you going to let me do this by myself? Let's talk about Kenya, the MSS missions being in Haiti. I'm not going to go into all the back histories. If you have questions for us afterward, while the questionings, I can go back into some historical concept. But since we are here to discuss Kenya, and you all have seen the level of insecurity, you've talked here about the gangs who are raping, killing Haitians in the country, the heavy U.S. weapons that are being traveled into Haiti from different places. Why is the Kenyans in Haiti? Haiti has had a lot of political dramas, as I call them, man-made dramas. We have had political instability. Within that political instability, young men and women who lost their way by not having proper education, by not having access to good jobs, by not having the family unit staying together, who ended up on the street. Many of the young men who are leaders of the gang, some of them were children who were wiping the business sector's cars, wiping the politicians. They are also young men who are fully well-educated, who have college degrees, who work with Haitian politicians during elections time. But these politicians unfortunately provided weapons to these young men and said, defend your territory, your neighborhood, help me win the elections, and when I finish, I will ensure that you get a job, ended up somewhere. But unfortunately, many of those politicians did not keep their promises. After they've won the elections, they asked those young men to keep those weapons and make sure that they control the territories from them. And mind you, if you are a young man, you now have a M14 in your hand, you're living in a community where most people don't have that kind of weapons. So some of them ended up using it to get access to things that they're not supposed to have access to. That's one thing you need to understand. The Kenyan forces comes to Haiti at quote unquote the request of former Prime Minister Ariel Henry. After the assassination of former President Jovenel Moïse, which you've read in the paper, he was brutally murdered. To this day, nobody fully know who killed him, but we know, quote unquote, who did it. For different purpose, we'll look at that a little later. Ariel came into office with a stroke of pen on Twitter from the international community saying that he'll become prime minister. Ariel was someone who worked very closely with. He was also someone who was on the council of the 2004 when sued Jean-Bertrand Aristide, removing him from office. That's some background information so you know who the person is. So once Ariel came into office, he works very closely with the people from BNU, the UN missions that's currently in Haiti. They've been there for years. They came in as a transitional into when Minister was living, the occupying force that spent close to 10 years there. And the same force who also brought in cholera into the country, the cholera pandemic, which killed over 10,000 people. So they asked, and by they, I mean the folks from the US Embassy and the United States governments and other members of key alliance of the US like Canada and France. They've had multiple conversations with Ariel asking him to ask for a multinational force to come into the country. That's the only way they can provide security to the nations. Haiti had an army. I'm not talking about the indigenous army that gave us our independence. I'm talking about the army that the US created after they invaded us in 1915. That army is what had helped form, destabilize through coup d'etats, sponsored, supported by the CIA and the State Department. It's not a conspiracy theory. There's a lot of books that have been written about it. But some folks do think about conspiracy theories, which I don't care. I care about my country, so whatever they think. So when they asked Ariel to invite the force to come in, for a force to come into a country, even if the US wants it, they can't do it on their own. They need the elected people or the chosen people who are in power to make that request. So after multiple meetings with the US ambassador in Haiti, Ariel met with his ministers, drafted a document, sent it to the United Nations on October 7, 2022, requesting that the UN send a multinational force into the country to help provide security. Going back into the army, why doesn't Haiti has an army? The army was disbanded at the request of the United States when Aristide returned to power back in 1994, because they said the army, yes, they had tortured and killed thousands of people. They consume a large percentage of Haiti's budget, but they are where they could be maneuvered to maintain security for the nations. We form a police force with the support training of the United States. All the hierarchy of our police force are also agents of the US government. The budget of the Haitian National Police Force is provided by the US government. For Haiti to have a police director, that person cannot be chosen, even if the Haitian people want it, even if the Haitian parliament wants to vote for it. If the embassy and the State Department do not endorse that person cannot become chief of police. The equipment the Haitian National Police needs to police, to operate, to deal with the gang cannot be ordered directly by members of the Haitian government, because the US placed an embargo on Haiti after the army was dismantled. Even during Jovenel presidency, to order weapons, he had to come to the State Department. The State Department will agree who gets the contract. And after the contract has been placed, the money paid by the Haitian government, it will go through some US contract company to bring the supplies into Haiti. Unfortunately, the supplies the Haitian government have ordered, they've only received defective material. And when the materials arrive on the ground, the police director is not able to conduct a full operation without the consent of the US Embassy. So why wasn't the Haitian police able to deal with the gangs or use the ammunitions they have to go fight the gangs? Because the director of the Haitian police cannot conduct an operation unless they have the go-ahead of the US Embassy. So why do we have so much gang? We have resources. Every places where you see a hub for a gang, there is a natural resources that that gang is supervising for whoever have access to it. For example, Katsamaozo in Kwadebuke, the gang who had kidnapped the Americans who were in Haiti, there are about 17 people they had taken. That gang overseeing right there, monitoring for the US government. The gang leader has stated on TikTok by himself, the Haitian government cannot touch me, because if they do, they will have to respond to the US government. Why do we have gangs in Haiti? We have natural resources that have been untapped. If you allow the Haitian police to conduct the operations, they will take out the gang leaders, then remove access from the people who want access to our natural resources. So the Kenyan force were brought in because with gang controlling water, US rice, contaminated US rice in Haiti, were losing money. They did not want to pay extra money to the gangs to get the rice into the country. So they supported a force going in that will provide security for the ports in Haiti. So when the rice are coming from Louisiana, they will enter and dump and make more money. So lobbied by US companies, US government to bring a force to provide security. When the Kenyan force first arrived in Haiti, the first place they went to secure was the US embassy, not the Haitian school, not the Haitian hospital, not the Haitian airport, the US embassy. So the force are there. How did Kenya comes in? They were looking for people who will come in, lead the force, but not really be the people making the decisions for the force. The US asked for different countries to come in, but once they sat down in private meeting at the UNs with the US, if they did not agree to allow the US to make all the decisions, those countries were put to the side. And that's how Mr. Ruto came into place. He agreed to the term of the US, and I'm sure my colleagues will talk a little bit more later about that. So a year after the initial letter to the UN in 2023, they voted the resolutions putting together the force. The force was supposed to have about 2,500 people to go help the Haitians. The money to pay for the force to come into the country is supposed to come from different members at the UN. It is quote unquote a UN force, but it does not fall under the Chapter 7 of the United Nations. They voted for it at the UN Security Council. Russia and China, both on several different occasions, abstains or say no to the force. Why? Because they know the issues that we are having in Haiti are a result of US foreign policy. On multiple occasions during sessions at the UN Security Council, both Russia and China pointed that out to the US, and there was a resolution passed to ensure that countries who have weapons coming into Haiti will take the necessary steps to prevent those weapons from going into Haiti. 95% of the weapons on the grounds are coming from the US. That resolution has not been implemented by the US. Every now and then they will catch somebody or they will stop a container from going through. But I will tell you, after Ariel left office, Gary Coney came in, the people at the port of entry in Haiti, anytime they catch a container of weapon, they used to show pictures of it. Then there was a quick article that came out in a Haitian newspaper saying that the customs office in Haiti will no longer release images of containers coming from the United States. Those containers, large part of them are carrying weapons. Then you will no longer see the weapons that are coming. Another thing, Barbecue, who's the leader of Vivre Ensemble. Vivre Ensemble is a gang coalition. That gang coalition was encouraged and put together by Hélène Lalime. Hélène Lalime was the representative of the United Nations in Haiti at the time that Vivre Ensemble was created. She went before the UN Security Council and praised the formation of that coalition that is torturing, killing, rape Haitians currently as we speak. Barbecue said himself that he's met with the US ambassador in Haiti, and when they speak what they want to know, the numbers of those weapons that they have in their hands, because every US manufactured weapon has a serial number. So if they wanted to track these weapons, they can do so very well. Now, money. Where is the money to pay for the force? And I want to let us listen to a little excerpt. Number 1, please. To get some context, first he's going to be talking about why Kenya, he believes that Kenya went into Haiti. And then we'll hear a little bit about the fundings. And that excerpt is from Dr. Peter Mbabi. He was on the show of Lynn and Gucci.
So let me ask honestly, so why did we then go to Haiti? Because people have asked, we have Congo here. Of course, I know we went to Congo, but of course, our people came back. But we have a lot of ways we can be able to support our neighboring countries. What did Kenya aim to gain by going to Haiti?
I think, and this purely from a subject I love called international relations.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask me from my own analysis and from what I know, there is, do you know how you grow up and you have this dream of conquering Africa, conquering the world? You want to be on the world map, being celebrated at UN meetings, guys clapping at you, being invited to come and give speeches, because of how you save the world. So there's that thing, and that is the motivation. That, and you remember Biden would praise it, I want to thank Kenya, for taking the lead in Haiti. All kinds of things. But you're not taking the lead because you are rich. Big countries, billions of shillings of trillions of GDP, you're not going to Haiti. But because we have.
So, Haiti had no bilateral relationship with Kenya. After the resolutions was voted at the UN, it was then that former Prime Minister Ariel Henry met with President Ruto, that they signed a memorandum of understanding establishing bilateral relationship. We in Haiti believe that if we want to get support from our brothers in the mother continent, we welcome that. But we want them to come as brothers working with us to maintain Haiti's freedom, not to continue to support the imperialist approach and oppressions in Haiti. My brother.
Thanks. So I have a very interesting first. I have a very interesting first encounter with the issues that we are discussing today. So Haiti and Kenya, we say Haiti because it's a HA. First, geographically, we're very far, and as you said, we also don't have significant bilateral relationships, or because that intersection just traditionally has not happened. In fact, Kenya has much stronger bilateral relationships with other Caribbean countries, so notably Barbados, for example. But my first encounter with this issue was I was coming from Kenya, and I was at JFK, and I was sitting waiting for the flight, and someone noticed my flag. This is distinctly Kenyan bracelet that many of us have. And it was a Haitian brother who was particularly upset. And he had a lot to say about at that point in time, the force had not actually yet landed in Haiti, but there was talk about him, about Kenyans being deployed to Haiti. So I listened to him. And when he finished, he said, first, I represent Kenya, but I'm not the Kenyan government. And then secondly, thank you for educating me, because most Kenyans did not also know what was going on. And there's a very specific reason that is. So Kenyans are distinctly democratic, but also engaged citizenry. Not just in the diaspora, but also at home. And whether it's on international issues or local issues, Kenyans will typically almost always know what is happening. But the Kenyan deployment to Haiti was done under the covers. So even the local population did not know what was going on. And the way we know what is happening politically is if there's going to be a deployment of Kenyan forces for any reason anywhere. So we've deployed forces Congo, various peacekeeping missions to different parts of the world, not just in Africa or in the Caribbean. We're very engaged country under Article 7 of the UN, and we regularly deploy our forces as part of missions for the UN, most recently to the Congo, which is in our neighborhood, and there's also a political interest in making sure that the region is stable, because an unstable Congo is an unstable Uganda and Rwanda, and if an unstable Uganda and Rwanda, we share borders, we have an unstable region generally. But this one was unique because it was not discussed in the public domain. It was not sanctioned as it should through the proper channels through Parliament in Kenya. It was done as what I term as a mercenary arrangement. So Kenyans were taken as guns for hire to ostensibly be a peacekeeping force in Haiti. The other part of it which was troubling was the fact that it was the police. We have a police force who deal with internal matters, internal security. In fact, the police department or the police force in Kenya is it's not under the defense ministry, which is border and international facing and has treaties with the UN and other countries for force sharing. We are an internal function. So the equivalent is if the state police here were deployed to Mexico, for argument's sake, or Congo for that matter, to Kenya. So it's also very disturbing that our most highly trained police officers, and this platoon, it originally was supposed to be about, I believe, 400, 1,000 strong, but only 400 have been deployed so far. They come from what is called Reggae Squad. So that would be the equivalent of the SWAT team here. They're the special forces within the police force. They're not soldiers. So their mandate is local. It's never international. So there was a lot of questions when this deployment was done. How do you take a local police who are supposed to be dealing with insecurity incidents within Kenya? And Kenya, by the way, is largely a stable country, but we have pockets of very unstable regions. So for example, our northern frontier in the borders with both Ethiopia and with South Sudan on the one hand, and Uganda to the north, is very unstable because of traditional cattle rustling between Ethiopia and Kenya. And if you don't know, quite a big chunk of Kenya has the same ethnic groups as you'd find on both sides of the border with the countries that we border. So for example, Marsabit County is Oromo, and Oromos are found in both Kenya and Ethiopia. In fact, we have an incident that's going on right now, which is particularly interesting because the Ethiopians have abducted quite a number of Kenyans over to the border. So those police are who would have been sent to deal with those types of situations. And then here we are with a police force being sent overseas. Where does that happen? I don't know. So already we know it was a guns for hire arrangement. And I'll segue so we can keep the discussion going with when it happened. So Kenya got this new president called Ruto, very populist, an impeccable liar, uniquely qualified to spin the truth.
We call him Kasongo.
Kasongo is
Have you had the song Kasongo? Hey. So we call him.
Kasongo, the liar.
He has Many nicknames.
Yeah. Amongst others, Zakayo,
The tax
the
collector
tax collector.
from the Bible. Yeah.
So this was during the height of our Gen Z revolution, and we hear that first Kenyan soldiers are being deployed, and then the other narrative was that Kenyan Gen Zs are being deployed because a lot of these officers are young men from the Gen Z generation are being deployed because the U.S. ambassador orchestrated this relationship between Kenya and the U.S. on the terms that because the U.S. does not want to send an occupying force, they're going to have Kenyans instead deployed. And this was all organized by an ambassador, the ambassador of Kenya.
Her name was Meg Whitman.
Meg Whitman, yeah, Meg Whitman is who orchestrated this in exchange for billions of dollars. I think that the number that has been publicly quoted is 300 billion, but it's probably much higher than that. So there are a lot of troubling aspects of how this deployment was done. It was not done by the Kenyan public. If a country is to go to war or to occupy, we have institutions that govern, and we have a constitution that governs how these things are done. So if you see the Kenyan army in Congo, that army has been deployed by the Kenyan people. But what our police force is doing 5,000 kilometers away from home, first for a conflict that we don't even have background of, most Kenyan people cannot even show you Haiti on the map, is troubling. So just in terms of context, with the backdrop of what she said, that deployment was not done by the Kenyan people. It was not done on behalf of the Kenyan people by our elected representatives. There was no vote. It was done illegally because you cannot deploy a police force, your local police, to go and supervise another jurisdiction. It would make sense if it was in Uganda or just across the, we could argue, there's a possibility. But in fact, what Ruto did was declare a war against Haiti, because you don't just deploy a mercenary force into a country. So that's, I think, generally the perspective you will get from the Kenyan people. And there's a lot of also confusion from our part because, of the way it was done and the fact that there've been young people who have died as well. 2 Kenyan officers have also been killed in the violence, and it's just symptomatic of how bad the situation is.
Definitely, this was Dr. Barasa Wangosi. Thank you so much. And we're going to also be joined by Wanjiru Gitaye, my sister, aka Valentine's. And speaking of the 2 Kenyans who've lost their life, if you listen to some of the segments from the Kenyan's government official, they will tell you only one person have died. The other one is missing. At first, the Kenyan soldiers who've lost their life, just for context purpose, they went to do missions in the Otibonite area in Haiti. And that area, the gang that control this area is in the area of Savien. And those gang, they had taken the town over. So the Kenyan soldiers, along with the Haitian National Police, they went on a missions. At first, they had taken the area away from the gangs. They stayed there. The munitions that they had started to dwindle down, and some of the armored vehicles they had, some of them started to break down. They didn't have the parts to fix them. Normally, if they go do an operations, after they take over the area, they're supposed to have backup that come and stay so they can continue other operations. But the population had asked a lot of those folks to stay back. The government was not providing the proper finance or equipment for them while they were there. So it was the members of the local community who actually ended up feeding those soldiers who stayed back in Savien to help maintain the security. So the gangs will be pushed away, then they get reinforced and they call other members to come join them. So that's how they were able to ambush those soldiers. So we had one Kenyan soldiers who died and they had the funerals in Kenya. And then the other one was recently taken by the gangs because one of their car broke down while they were on missions. Now, Fritz Jean, who is currently the coordinator for the Provisional Transitional Council, stated during a speech in which the family his condolences. And unfortunately, the gang circulated image of that soldier. So once the parents saw the image and says, the government told me my son is missing, but then images are showing saying that the son has passed away. So then the government in Kenya, I believe, retracted back and go with the message of being missing instead of as someone who's actually lost their lives while doing the missions. And there was a recent interview done by Fritz Alphonse. Again, he retracted back saying missing instead of wishing condolences. My sister.
So, hey everybody. Hi. So prior to June 18th last year, that's when we Kenyans had like the big protest. The Kenyan president was known as the flying president because he was trying to be like the Gaddafi of Africa, sort of, right? And when I heard about the Kenyan police being deployed to Haiti, initially I was like, okay, this can't be that bad, right? You know, well, Pan-African, they're going to go help our brothers and sisters. Wow. You know, I love the idea. And I thought they were going to deploy the General Service Unit, which is the GSU, which they're really brutal. And I was like, yeah, they're going to kick their ass, right? They're going to beat these gangs. But then I found out that, first of all, no country in any West African countries had refused to be part of this deployment. And I'm looking at it on a Pan-African eyesight, and I'm like, if we're saying we're Pan-African and countries in West Africa are refusing, that means there's something more to this. So why is the Kenyan president trying to do this, right? And one thing is, this thing, like Baraza said, was illegal, but also the Kenyan parliament has been bought for, right? It's their toothless bulldogs, so they do everything the president says. So that would have passed initially and they would have gone, right? And it was really concerning to me when the Joe Biden administration and the Kenyan president and the relationship that they had, right? And given the history of Haiti with United States occupying them, United States funding Papa Doc and his family, and now only Kenya is accepting. So it's like, yeah, this is truly Operation, Blackface, right? This is going to be brutal, right? And initially, Kenya, like Baraza had said, had promised 1,000 soldiers. It was supposed to be 2,500 for the multi-security forces, and also overall 2,500, right? So initially 400 were deployed, then it was 600. Currently, the number stands at 817. But like we said, Kenyans, we don't know a lot of information. In fact, I'm happy and honored to be here because I'm actually learning this from you. We don't know a lot that is going on. We just know the Kenyan police are there. Like, we're not sure about what exactly is going on. The reports I know is there's 2 who have died, 1 who has been kidnapped, and 2 who have been injured. Initially, United States had pledged $300 for the mission, and then 110 was given, with 85 coming from the United Nations Trust Fund, if I'm not wrong. And we were hoping like this money is going to be used like it should, right? But the Kenyan president, being who he is, very corrupt. We don't have an audit, right? We don't know exactly how much has been deployed, because if you're going to give $85 million, we expect good guns, I don't know, machine guns. I'm not really vast with the military equipment, but you know what I mean, because I'm seeing the gangs with like machine guns and they have sophisticated technology. So where is this money, right? Why is there accountability? We're being shown, hey, $10 million went to uniform and bulletproofs, $10 million, this. We don't know that, because the first time they were deployed last year in July, They were not paid till after 4 months. Okay, the Kenyan police were not paid. I think they've been paid twice since that whole thing happened. So like, it's really bad. And when you think of it, if there are people who are supporting, maybe because family members are like, hey, my husband is gonna, or my son is gonna miss money, we're gonna use this money because to educate and have a quality of lifestyle, right? Like you can afford the basic needs, because the Kenyan economy right now is really, really bad. But realizing you're sending your sons and daughters to go fight in a war that has nothing to do with the betterment of Haitians and betterment of Kenyans, and you're not paying them, there's really no morale, right? So people are feeling like, Kenyans, let me speak for Kenyans, they're feeling like this is not good. They're not excited. They're not that despair. There's a lot of despair. Kenyans want the Kenyan police back home, but given what is going on and based on what that video we've seen and who the Kenyan president is and how he wants to be known as this guy. In fact, he's the second most corrupt person after Assad. I just gotta throw that in there. One thing that is very, that is very distorting is, so the Trump administration has come in and has said, yo, you know what, American first, right? And initially they had frozen $15 million that was for this mission. And Marco Rubio was like, they're not sure if they're gonna release it, but they have, right? And I sit down and I'm like, I just wonder, like, has this even been effective? Was it even, I wouldn't say it wasn't worth it, but for what? Why are we doing this? I feel like if this whole mission was from the African Union itself, and we have, Ghana has just giving 500 officers, Ethiopia, and all of African Union is doing it on that perspective to help our brothers and sisters, it would make sense. But the Kenyan president doesn't care. He just wants the money for himself. And it's like a really bad situation, because I just feel like it's not gonna end well. It's not gonna produce fruits that it should produce.
And speaking of funding for the MSS missions, can we play clip 2? Just so you can get some idea. The US is supposed to be really the person pledging the bulk of the money. Each country is supposed to put something in the basket. You ready? Go ahead.
This country. These are things we must talk about. But allow me to talking about Haiti for 1 minute, because it's one issue, especially on my area on peace and conflict. I've been talking about it a lot. I've been writing about it a lot. I'll tell you 2 things. One, you go and push these things across everywhere. I think even the matter went to court, right? Finally, yes, goes to Haiti. Now, it is under this UN mission supported by Council, but no funding. We are hoping Biden will fund. Trump comes and says America first. Listen to this. We buried one young man. Another one, they say, is missing. But the Transition Council have already given condolences. Already. They have already given condolences about the saying that guy is no longer there. Now, today, the news I got last from my sources from somewhere, 2 more soldiers have been injured in Haiti as we speak today. I think yesterday. Have been injured badly. And when we hear injured, that's not a very good story. What is happening? These guys have no money. They have no salaries. But 2, they don't have equipment. They are old equipment. Actually, most of the time, they are being ambushed when trying to repair the equipment. Armored vehicles. Armored vehicles are too old that, bullets are piercing through. Actually, one of them was injured by, it pierced through an armored vehicle. Because they are old, there's no support. So what I'm saying, and this is purely as a Kenyan and an expert on governance. If then we went, because it was a risk, you can't go begin saying that we are paying the money, a poor country like Kenya, funding a UN mission, hoping to be paid by who? There's no framework. We are hoping Biden will do that. There's no framework, right? Number 2, do you know already, I think Kenya has spent over 9 billion Money we are supposed to buy drugs for HIV. Remember, the funding has been curtailed. Money we are supposed to do dams for our people, for food security. We are taking that money from the budget to go and fund Haiti. First, we don't have the money, right? But we have given the money in the hope we are going to be refunded. Do you know what's going to happen? This is very serious. Lynn, if you continue this way, we'll continue losing our soldiers. Why can't we eat the humble pie?
So you just heard it. So it's Kenyans' money that is being taken to pay the soldiers who are in Haiti. The U.S. promised to front the money to cover the cost for these missions. The few millions that was disbursed by the U.S., it was split between U.S. contractors to go set up for them to arrive. So a lot of time you hear Haiti has been provided a lot of billions of millions. We don't see where it goes. The country is so poor, they never do anything for themselves. You have to understand, for every dollar in aid that is allocated to Haiti, only 5 cents on each dollar, which is the government. So yes, a lot of millions or billions have been allocated, but that money does not reach or make it to the work that's supposed to be done for the populations. The individuals who are cooking food for the MSS missions, they hire cooks from Georgia. I guess Haitians, not Georgia the state, Georgia the country. Haitian not cook. That's all I gotta say to that. If you can, I mean, yes. So basically, it's the U.S. don't want to use their own soldiers, so they globalize it. Localize it is the term, to use other nations' soldiers to do the work, so it doesn't have to be costly, so it doesn't have to show that they're using U.S. soldiers in the war. But there are also a lot of former U.S. soldiers that are hired as contractors to be on the ground. You don't see them in the forefront, but yes, they are there. So whatever money that is allocated, it's paying for these individuals. And speaking of munitions, every 2 weeks or so, there's a U.S. military plane that dropped munitions. The Haitian police themselves are putting message out there saying that we are frustrated. We can do the job. We don't even need the Kenyans to do the job. You said you're going to give us munitions. The munitions are here, but you keep them locked up. Just give us the munitions and let us do the jobs. Yes, there are munitions that are, there are armor vehicles, there are different weapons that landed in Haiti, but they are locked up for service when the U.S. want. They are not made available to these individuals to go out and do the job. So the armor vehicles that they are being used by the Kenyans and other soldiers, some of these vehicles, there was one point they were ambushed in Kwadebuke. It was the Haitian National Police who had to provide backup for them to be able to get out, because if they open the door, they will be directly shot at by the gangs. So if you're going to provide munitions and equipment, make sure you provide the right equipment. And yes, the guy is right. These soldiers were injured because the armor vehicles are not good enough to withstand the type of weapon that those gang has. And again, these weapons are purchased from right here. So if you send a mission in a country, you said you want to fight, you want to provide security, you will give them equipment that can withstand the weapons that you produce and sell and send to the country. So in terms of numbers, depending on who you're speaking with, there are some days I hear Mr. Fritz Alphonse Jean in an interview he provided to Listing India in the Dominican Republic, saying that there's about 1,000 soldiers on the ground from Kenya. One passed away, there's 99 left. But when you read articles from Kenyan newspaper, they said about 800. There's an article that was recently published by a Haitian Time. They said there's about 579 soldiers on the ground. I don't know which number to trust in terms of how many people we have back there. The countries from CARICOM who had promised to provide soldiers, Jamaica, for example, only have about 24 people back there in Haiti. They had promised 240. Belize had promised 50. There was only one who was sent. The Bahamas had promised 150. The few that went down, they had allow them to come back because they were not getting paid. And then the planes, as you know, currently we don't have any plane, US airline flying into Haiti because the Vivensom gang, they had shot at one JetBlue planes that had to go land in the Dominican Republic. So since then, all the major airlines no longer travel to Haiti. The last report the FAA put out, they said there will be flight perhaps in September. It is not guaranteed for sure that that will happen. So guys, let's look at the thing. We know the Kenyan population themselves do not support the Kenyan soldiers going in. So as Kenyans, when you talk to people back home, what are their sentiments? Is it still the same? The families who are losing soldiers and remittances, how much are you hearing? Are they able to get the money to send back to their family in Kenya?
So the Haiti issue is not really, to be quite honest with you, it's not really on the Kenyan conscience. Also because we've been conditioned to be numb to, or to be oblivious on matter security when our forces have been deployed. I can tell you that when the initial deployment was done, obviously there was a lot of outrage. There was outrage over a lot of other things. But today they're not. It's not an issue that is core on the news cycles or in people's consciences. Also because the death toll. Obviously, there's young men who have died. I think what I'll tell you, unfortunately, I heard this from a Kenyan at home, was we support, and I'm trying to be careful here so that I don't burn myself. So we support our troops, we support our boys. So anywhere Kenyans are deployed, anywhere in the world, regardless of the context, regardless of the politics, regardless of how they got there, categorically, Kenyans support their troops. We support our boys in making sure that they stay safe, pray for them that they don't come to any harm. But what has happened is the young man who was killed most recently, there was one who was actually killed. He's from my county, from Kajiado County. And the mother was obviously on TV asking for the body of her son to bury. And then another young man was killed, or the one that allegedly is now missing. But what was very outrageous for the Kenyan people was that his body was mistreated, and he was not being mistreated by Americans. He was not being mistreated by Haitian police. He was not being mistreated by foreign powers. He was being mistreated at the hands of Haitian gangs. So you can imagine the collective trauma that caused. But I want to say this. So, that this is the status quo. We have a mercenary force that has been deployed to conduct operations in Haiti. Hopefully that makes a difference, but I personally think that ultimately there's going to have to be a political solution. And one of the things that we as Kenyans are particularly good at, and I think this is the goodwill that they took advantage of, is Kenya has always deployed not just peacekeepers, but peacemakers in the region. So today there's a nation called South Sudan because of Kenya. Peace in the Horn of Africa, any of the peace agreements that have happened anywhere in that region, most of them were signed in Kenya. In fact, there was a time when the South Sudanese and the Somali government were holding sessions in Kenya at the same time, because we hosted their governments when they could not do it in their own countries. So that is the heart and soul of Kenyans, that we believe in peace. And I think the intent was to play on those credentials, to say, oh, look, Kenya has sent a peacekeeping force. But it's really a mercenary force, and it's hard to kind of justify a mercenary force as a peacekeeping force. But ultimately, there's going to have to be a political solution. And a political solution happens when the parties talk to each other, not when the gangs talk to the government, or the government talks to the gangs, or the gangs talk to each other. When the Haitian people talk to each other. You said earlier that the the young men who are holding and pointing guns at each other, Kenyans were very fascinated, by the way, by barbecue, because it speaks to very pertinent and familiar issues that we face even in our own societies. This feeling of marginalization. He was a former police officer, barbecue himself. He's very charismatic, and obviously controls, not just in terms of security, but also controls a political narrative. And he needs to be listened to, along with all the other gang members, because those are Haitians. Those are Haitian young men who have been armed, quote unquote, on the justification of protecting their communities. So we need to listen to them as well, because this characterization of Haitian youth as gangs, Haitian militias as up to no gooders, it draws a line which makes it difficult for one side to talk to each other. We have a similar situation going on in the Congo, where the government had refused to speak to M23, calling them rebels. You come with this kind of narratives, and it makes it impossible to make the peace, because the M23 are Congolese, just like the gangs that barbecue and the others control are Haitians. And post all this conflict, you're going to have to live with each other in those same communities, with those same people. And you can't incarcerate a whole population, can you? So I think the peace needs to be found through a political solution.
I want to add something quickly to that. I agree with you on some level. We do have to talk to each other as Haitians. We are bound to live together in the same land. On the issue of peacemaking, peacemaking will be a wonderful thing. But when you have manipulative hands, you can't make peace with that. Haiti would not be where it is right now today had the US, the Canadians, the French, not the people, the governments, had not been mingling, involved to get this thing where it is today. So if barbecue can come on TikTok and have a live and tell you that he met with the US ambassador on a regular basis to provide serial number for each weapon that he possessed and other gang who are part of his coalitions, how do you make peace with that? When the US ambassador will get on a Haitian major network in Haiti and said, yes, I called them when they are shooting around the embassy, I called to find out whether they are targeting the Haitian embassy or they just shooting around themselves or shooting the people. An ambassador, according to the conventions, is supposed to stay within the confine of diplomatic. Why is he speaking with barbecue? Why is he meeting with barbecue? So then where is the peace? We're looking for peace. But then the US say in order to make peace, that peace had to fit the profile of the US, meaning if I want to take the petroleum we have in Village de Dieu, where ISO is staged, we need to allow them access to it. Look, the petroleum belongs to Haiti, and to the Haitian, it doesn't belong to the United States. So to make peace for the US means laying down, let them walk over you, and then let them take over the resources. To make peace mean move out the people who's been staying on this land so they can get access to it. So what the gang do for the US government and for the US businessmen who's interested in accessing our resources. I would even talk about Elon Musk, who now have Starlink in Haiti. Why is Elon Musk in Haiti? We have uranium in the southeast part of Haiti in large quantity that he needs for Telsa. So gangs are there to protect the interests of the US. So no, they're not going to allow us to make peace. We've had multiple meetings. We've signed different contracts. We've made different agreements. Do you know why these agreements fall apart? As soon as it reaches the US table, they look at it. No, we don't want this. It doesn't fit our interests. So Haitian politicians, Haitian men and women cannot make peace that is to the benefit of the US government. It has to be a peace that's to the benefits of the Haitian people and the Haitian nations. I agree with peace, but which peace are we talking about?
Yeah, I also share the same sentiments with Eugenia, only because I know Baraza mentioned that Kenyans love peace, and initially Kenyans, yes, have been deployed as peacekeepers, but it was out of like good political will, right? We didn't have a president who was very neo, who was very, I'll say, his mind is very colonized, right? He loves everything about the Mzungu, right? So sorry, I meant like the white person. Okay, I don't want it to come wrong, but you get what I mean, right? And he was actually in the White House and he was sitting on Joe Biden's chair and Biden and he was swinging, I don't think that is like when you think about it, right? And the reason I'm saying I share the same sentiments is I don't think Haitians need to collaborate with gangs or the gang leaders to make peace. I feel like Haitians need to be empowered and given what they need, and also have the independence as the police force in Haiti to do what they need to do, because I believe that they can do it. In fact, also having Kenyans there is Kenyans don't know the region so well, like the Haitian police know. They're new in this area, Also, there's been allegations of human rights abuse from Kenyans. I hear, I'm not quite sure. So I feel like Haitians need to be given the political goodwill, the strength that they need. If it can come from an organization like the African Union without having any imperialist or any hand of the Western powers to do it, I think that would be a way to go. If the African Union does not step up and cannot do it, then yes, they should help. They should let the Haitians do it themselves. In fact, I think barbecue needs to be in prison. That's what I think, because I don't know if I should use the word genocide, but the reason I feel like this is a genocide in some way is because there's a group of people who are killing other people, taking away land from them. You have thousands of people being displaced, and there's really nothing good out of this. And I feel like the international community, if they're not going to do anything about it, they should just stay out of it and not poke their nose into Haitian affairs like they've done in the past, not only in Haiti, not only in Kenya, but in Africa. And that reminds me, last year when Kenyans had the protest, it was because of foreign powers like the United States and the IMF interfering in Kenyan politics. It was the hand of Meg Whitman in everything, and what we're seeing now in Haiti is not new. So I feel like the transition team, the Haitian transition team, should really move very steadily with they should really move in a way that is very smartly, right? I believe Haitians they were the first people to gain independence, right, as during slavery. So they have all the capability that they need, you right? And when the artist here was performing, that in itself for me was a testament. He didn't have to say anything, but through his music and the sound, I could tell the passion. I could tell how powerful that was. So I'm imagining that is how Haitians are, and that is how it should be.
Yeah, but sorry, so I want to say this. So there's a lot of stakeholders or actors in this geopolitical struggle that the Haitian people are bearing the brunt of. There's the Haitian people, the locals. In Kenya, we call them the Wananchi, the people. There's the institution of the gangs with their leaders. We have the stooge governments. We have the Haitian diaspora, and then we have all the world powers who are playing their hands in this conflict. We have a saying in Kenya that a house divided against itself cannot stand.
I agree with that.
A house divided against itself cannot stand. So before we even talk about the hand, which is, by the way, never going to go away, because this is your next door neighbor, right? Haiti and the US, they're inextricably linked. Just like the US is linked to Bermuda off the coast of Florida, Cuba off the coast of Florida, and all the Caribbean islands. That's never going to change. That geopolitics is never going to change.
We can build bridges. We can build gates.
Yep.
And keep them out.
You also have a colonial history that's never going to change. Kenya was colonized. A lot of African countries were colonized. But the one thing that no one is talking about is the division between Haitian people themselves. Haitian diaspora, the Haitian people who live on the mainland, on the island, the gangs, and the government.
Let me pause you right there.
Yeah.
Yes, we are divided around ourselves.
And that needs to be sorted out first.
Let me, I'm gonna
Yeah.
hold it right there.
Yeah.
We have ça nous relève esclave mental et esclave champ. We have the domesticated slaves and the slave that works the land. Haiti was freed by the slaves who works the land, not the domesticated slave. So Haiti is where it is. Education has a large part to do with it because the education many of us receive, unfortunately, are trained, used to support, to recruit for masters. Haiti is where it is because unfortunately, some of my brothers and sisters agree to do the work of masters. Haiti is divided within because those of us who came from Sanorele Bosal, the children of Dessalines, refuse by any means necessary, we will not stay colonized. We will not serve master. That's what it's about. The US can be our neighbors, but when your neighbor is destroying you, you are not my neighbor, you are my enemy. The man who freed Haiti had one mission: no masters shall set foot on this land. So my Kenyan brothers who are in Haiti right now, because they came not as friends, not as brothers, they are as much as enemies to the Haitian population. They said, I see some of the video where they are saying, we don't feel welcome. They don't like us. Why don't they like us? Because you come to occupy us. You are no longer our brother. So just like in Haiti, you are divided around ourselves. Listen, I'm a mother. A woman gives birth to many children, but you don't make those children sentiment. You can do the best that you can, but some of them are going to have some wild craziness. You're like, where did you come from? So yes, Haiti has children, and some of those kids, I ask myself, I don't think you come from the same land that I come from. Because what was rooted upon us, inside us, is not what they are putting out there. So I cannot make peace with barbecue. Barbecue, torture, diminish people's economic possibilities. Do you know what happened when a person gets kidnapped in Haiti? They call every one of us here in diaspora. Sometimes we have to take a loan on our houses to send the money down to the gang. They sell, the people in the country, they sell their car, they sell their land, they sell their houses to put money together to pay to release somebody. And sometimes the one person can get kidnapped 2-3 times because they know they will get the money. How do you make peace with someone like that? Yes, he was a policeman, but he made the wrong turn. He chose to work for the wrong group of people. There come a point where you have to say enough is enough. Do you know why some of your Kenyan brothers are not able to do missions? Go ask the guy who works for the UN and represent the Human Rights Commission, Mr. William O'Neill. He will tell you the police started doing operations with drones. With the drones, they are able to fly them over the head of the gang and see where they are and drop. The guy from the UNs, the woman who represent the UNs in Haiti, they went into meeting with the transitional government and tell the police chief and said, no, you cannot continue to conduct operations because the drones are killing young gang members. According to, look, I support human rights, but when your country is being destroyed, you're not going to be able to solve it by following some of those things that are in those books. Here, to be a free nation, we have police, all type of police. Do you see how they do the people when they are out there demonstrating? They don't want them demonstrate. Remember George Floyd and what they did with those demonstrations? So it's no different. We are living here in a police state. I can't go out there with a weapon and do whatever I want. You want to say something, my brother?
Come on. First, I have to say something to my brother. Even halfway I was going well with you, but I think you are missing something in my view. First, the psychological makeup of the diaspora Africans is in another planet. It will take Africans like you and me 100 and 1,000 years to understand the people we deported into slavery. The middle class in Kenya has no idea, does not have the language to even activate and mediate peace. Impossible. What you did in the Ethiopian-South Africa meeting, what your Kenyatta guy did, fall bad. Immediately they're at war now. They're about to go to war. South Sudan. So don't put Kenya as a peacemaker. First, you cannot even use the logic of a Mao in Kenya. To this day is not understood by the middle-class Kenyans. Because this middle-class Kenyan is actually a British creation. It has nothing to do with responding the shelter of people, the food of the people, the health of the people. The shanty town in Kenya, all over Mombasa, Nairobi, is shameful. Much more to come across the ocean and try to deal with our people here. But I'll tell you what you are not understanding. Haitians themselves can resolve it. The intellectuals in Haiti proposed. Imperialist America didn't want to buy it. They didn't want this thing resolved. That's why they want somebody like you and me who don't know nothing about the diaspora people. We sold 100,000 whatever years. They know how we could be used. And I think it's a very dangerous time. Body bags are going to come. Kenyan, poor Kenyan, not the middle class. Okay, poor Kenyans will be in a bag shipped, and that's a sad commentary for African people to be positioning our people into that state. Excuse me, my brother. It's your second time. I think the first part of it, you're doing fine, and then you're trying to repair something. You called it all of it was not. Suddenly you have a peacemaking proposal. I'm saying to you, Caribbeans have more psychological concept or understanding of Haitians. Right. Haitians are the first revolutionaries in this hemisphere before the United States. United States, the Jefferson obsession with them from the outset is because they were the first black race who made a revolution in this hemisphere. They are the progenitors of every revolution all the way to Angola, Cuba, etc. Microphone. Okay, my brother here. Yeah. Who's that?
They can't hear you.
Okay. Okay, excuse me. I know I want my brother to hear me. So to me, I would just say that there's a punishment that Haitian people are going. From those of us who studied revolution, the Haitian, the Toussaint Louverture issue she talked about, Toussaint Louverture, Dessalines, they are punished from Jefferson time to now by the United States because they taught the African race in diaspora all the way to Brazil, we can't triumph over white people. They're not gods. Kenyans have not even arrived there. They still use the vocabulary of neocolonialism from England. I know you, my brother. I'm a miseducated Ethiopian by the British myself. Okay, I know what you're coming from. So as far as I'm concerned, it's very important to understand that the diaspora, when they need us, we're not there. When they rebel, we're not there. From Los Angeles to the Caribbean, to Brazil, when they rebel, no African government makes a statement in support, in solidarity. No African government representative in the United Nations take their case to the United Nations from Malcolm X time to now. So as far as I'm concerned, I think it would be more constructive to understand, like Kenyans, I hope there are Haitians who could resolve this problem. They have made appeals to the power that be several times. No one listens. This is one thing. Second is the Caribbeans and African Americans, the intellectuals. They know who they are. Like for example, I never understood Mau Maus, but African Americans taught me who the Mau Maus were. So I'm saying, I think it's very important to understand there is a psychological language difference between us continental Africans. We're not catching up yet. That's why our people are subjected. Even the Congo peace stuff you're talking about, I don't want to divert away from Haiti, but even in Congo, there's a disastrous neo-colonial activity going on by all governments, including the Congo, your government, Uganda, the guy, Rwanda guy, okay, Kagame, what he's doing, you know, on one hand, he shows us the lowest fruit, hates white people, calls BBC everything, turns around, he's their mercenary. He's the only volunteer who said, I'll give you a place to bring your refugees back from London. That itself is anti-African. The people have gone there, but he wants to say, okay, return them to my place. Just pay me like the Kenyan guy. So as far as I'm concerned, in my view, I think we have to trust Africans in the diaspora have created enough elite to solve their problem. What we have to ask is why they are not allowed, and what role do we play, all of us, to empower the intellectuals, the important intellectuals. It's like the way, just give them the benefit of the doubt. If you can solve your problem, in Ethiopia, we can solve our problem, but not with all this interference. Including Kenya claims they made peace. The guys are about to kill each other. Who did they make peace with? People who are killed people, who should be on trial. Masses of Ethiopian kids from all ethnic groups have been killed. And the guys are back at war again after having sent 80, in one war alone, 85,000 Eritreans and Ethiopians were killed. 80-something Tigrayans, Amharas are killed all the time. What peace are we making by neo-colonial language? No. These people who are making peace should be tried as war criminals with this guy in the White House. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're gonna take questions from the audience, and then I'll put some more. You have your hands up, my brother?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I've been trying to help Haiti for a while. Just before the earthquake there, I think the earthquake was 2011?
2010.
2010?
Well, we had two, one in 2010
Was
and
the
then
first one, the first
2010.
Yeah, okay, 2010. Well, 2009, I was invited to come to the Library of Congress to observe a brother that brought over his family and some people, including children, here to give a story about the form of a kind of like an underground political network. You know, the most impressive thing from the start of that story was that they were going to put together this underground political process, but it would not work if women were not involved. So since it was filmed at the Library of Congress, I would highly recommend everybody here to go search for it and just ask for that presentation from Haitians in November 2009. I knew that that was a cold day, but the story was about the network that they put together was very organized. It was almost the members were, all the members didn't know everybody in the network, and that was on purpose. But they put together this so-called underground government in a fashion that's pretty much like the states over here. I don't want to get long-winded because I can do that, but everybody here should look that up, because I don't know what the name of it was. All you have to do is ask for.
I think if
the
you're
Haitian-
talking about the Maonage movement, and that's why there are several documentary that talks about the Maonage movement, which is the process that we use during the revolutions to communicate and across the country without the folks having knowledge to that. And Maonage, here we call it the Underground Railroad movement. It's the same thing.
See, the solution is from the people within.
Yes.
You know?
And we are still organizing. Understand, Toussaint Louverture is the guy who said when they took him out of Haiti, he said, what, you've only chopped down the tree of freedom, but we'll rise up again because we are strong and numerous. So one of the reason being for the imperialist society is to try to identify upcoming leaders within the communities. They bribe them with money, or they offer them asylum to come. Let's look at, for example, the Biden administration started a humanitarian parole program. And that program allow about over 500,000 Haitians to come here. But those 500,000 Haitians who left to come to the country, yes, they look for opportunity, but guess what? They are our professors. They are our doctors. Those are young men and women who spent 14 years in the school systems in Haiti that we need to teach the next generations, that we need to carry the economy. The banking system right now lost the majority of their employees because they came to the program. Even our police force, we lost a lot of well-trained policemen because they came to the program. And guess what happened when they come here to America? Yes, it's a great opportunity. They come with their family, but our doctors have to work at McDonald's because they're not going to take them as doctors when they arrive here in this country. They have to start over again. So look at organizing and planning is crucial to Haiti. And understand that what's happening in Haiti, it is being used as a lab to look at what they're going to do to the next nation in Africa, to look at how they're going to treat Black people here. Because understand, Haiti is that example. And it's been made since independence that we cannot flourish, we cannot succeed because we will be example for others to come. So when you look at what's happening in Haiti, don't just look at it at Haiti not getting along. It is being made this way. You don't know the amount of money that is injected into Haitian politics just to keep the divide. Do you know, after Aristide got elected in 1991, in 1990, and it was coup in 91, the International Republican Institute, the National Democratic Institute, NED, National Endowment for Democracy, these institutions receive congressional budget money to promote quote unquote democracy. So if we have election in Haiti, you find 100 people running for president. What country do you see that? But guess who created them? Your tax dollars created them in Haiti to establish political pluralism. Because the majority vote, when 67% people can elect a president, it is hard to break that vote. They don't want that. We don't have an electoral college, but here you do. The electoral college decide who's going to be president. You don't. You vote, but you don't decide who the president is going to be. In Haiti, we have a constitution that says 1 man, 1 woman, 1 vote. That's what we are fighting against. So to control the status quo, control the politician, control the business, control who's making the decision, when you have all these different large grant makers make grants into institutions in Haiti, they says, well, we're getting the grant from the so-and-so. But who do they report to? That grant money, your tax dollars, invade our community. Missionaries, they come in, they come in to help, but guess what? Are they really helping? They are the spies within our community. I'm sorry to say, but that is the reality that we face. So to make peace, you have to rebuild your nation. Those gang leaders are protecting resources for the power to be. You can listen. If you are a revolutionary man, you're talking about Jean-Jacques Dessalines, you cannot set fire on the people who are the most vulnerable. You cannot rape and torture children around your neighborhood. You cannot walk into people's house and kill them. That is not a revolution. Because look, Barbecue knows who maintains the 1% who maintain the economic system in Haiti. Barbecue knows why he was not able to get the benefit that he needed as a young man. So if he's doing a revolution, he would have dealt with the people who's controlling the nation and preventing the nations from making it where it is. Look, Dessalines fought for Haiti to be independent. Dessalines say, my neighbors, I will not bother them. We ought to live in peace unless they come to make war with me. So we have these major embassies in Haiti who are taking our resources. When Barbecue make war, when Barbecue make community members move out of their home, he makes it easier for them to move the resources out of the nations without us seeing. So make peace with somebody like that is very difficult. You don't know the amount of women, the amount of young girls who are sleeping under tent. When these individuals spend the night on their feet and dry the floor after the rain so they can sleep, how do you make peace with that?
Can I add something? And also to mention the gang leaders like Barbecue, they have like expensive houses, they have like pools. But when they come out of the house, you just see how isolated, you just see how the buildings are crumbled and how there's despair. You have Haitians living in government buildings that were meant to help the Haitian people there. Then you look at what the double debt crisis that Haiti has had, that has been imposed by colonial powers that continue to exist. In 1971, Duvalier was given $900 million by United States. 900 million back then, right now is, I don't know, it's probably $1 billion that Haitians can't really show, right? This went to the pockets of those, the Duvalier family, because eventually the economy also crumbled. So yeah, you cannot make peace with people who serve, the Western powers. It's like you can negotiate with terrorists. And I think that's what these gang leaders are.
Let me just respond. There's a question back there. So
Yes.
let's
Before
get that
we get to the next question, I just want to say briefly, Sister Maritu is going to be handing around a small wicker basket for folks to make those donations. As mentioned earlier, all donations for this event will go to WPFW Washington in honor of the work that WPFW has been doing to support the Haitian and other peoples through the course of 48 years. Sister Eugenia, Mama Eugenia, is a WPFW programmer, and all the money that is raised will go under the aegis of her show, so that will help her reach her fundraising goals. So please give generously. Thank you.
We do have a slide that has some information for the donation page. If you can put that up quickly for people who want to make a donation online.
I'm not sure we have the slide up, but you can make donations online at $WPFW on Cash App and just put Eugenia Charles in the subject line. You can also make donations at WPFWFM.org. That's $WPFW and WPFWFM.org.
Yes.
Quick question about that donation. The money that we donated online when we registered is going to them, right?
When you go online, make sure you scroll down to Konbit Lakai. That's KONBIT, LAKAY Beat Like, because the station has numerous programs. So each programmer fundraise for their show. So I mean, if you donate, it's gonna go to the station. But if you want to go to my show, you have to select Beat Like.
I think your question was about donating beforehand through Sankofa. Yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Okay.
Thank
My question to you, I keep hearing the people talk about gangs, and I just think language is very important. You talk about the one barbecue, whatever you call the guy's name is, but who are these gangs? So when you speak about it and people they need to negotiate with, the Haitians themselves, is there more than one gang?
Yes.
So people who are not in Haiti don't really get it. They just,
Explain.
and I think the gang is also sort of a derogatory term, as though
It is.
why
Thank you.
do they keep calling them gangs?
Those are Haitian young
My
men.
great grandfather's Haitian, so my grandmother's Haitian. So this kind of bothers me. That's why I showed up here. You have a lot of Americans from Louisiana, New Orleans, that go back, that have lots of Haitian roots, that have been in this country a long time, multiple generations. So give us more information on what that is,
Okay.
because we got people with resources can help out
All right. No
or get
problem.
involved.
Okay. My brother, your questions? Yeah.
First of all, thank you again, Eugenia, for the fantastic program. So quick comment and then a question, if that's okay. So on the comment, I think generally we tend to think of peace as a legitimate political objective. I do not think peace is a legitimate political objective. Peace is a consequence of justice. So if I were to break into your home and steal your jewelry and your money and your paintings, and then when I turned around to leave the door, I saw you standing there with a gun, nobody would be more interested in peace at that moment than me. Because peace is not a legitimate political objective. It is something you do when it is a consequence of justice. Real peace comes when you have justice. And I'm also concerned about whenever there's shootings in the Southeast or even here on Georgia Avenue, and the first thing, instead of saying people need housing and people need healthcare and people need jobs, the first thing is we need peace before lock everybody up. So on the comment part, Kenya, of course, in 2023 was denied access to IMF funds, which I don't think we should be taking IMF funds as much as we possibly can. And then suddenly, literally a month after, 2 months after, publicly announcing that it was willing to go to send troops to Haiti, was given IMF funds. Is there, I haven't seen any analysis on the relationship between the two. Is there a one-to-one? And if there is, what is the implication of that for imperialist power? In other words, to what extent was Kenya just forced or encouraged to do it by imperialist powers that said, we'll give you $900 million if you are willing to do our dirty work for us?
Yeah, there was definitely a quid pro quo between the Kenya government under William Ruto and the US government. So Valentine earlier described a very poignant scene that happened at the White House Resolute desk, where our president was literally sitting at the Resolute desk with Biden holding him from the back, almost like swinging the chair as a child would, which was an indicator for, it was very insulting for many Kenyans to see that. This president, who by the way has very weak international credentials, the last time he was on the international scene was when he was indicted by the ICC for war crimes committed during the 2007 elections. So I think one thing that Haitians need to understand, and I think generally folks need to understand about Ruto, is he has an inferiority complex. One, born from his background, he comes from a very, hard-scone and poor background, but also from the loss of reputation that he from being indicted by the ICC. So he's done a lot to try and fix that international image, and this was one of those things he did on a personal level to try and show the world that he's a person that they can work with. So obviously the ramifications of what we're talking about right now, but I think the large part of that motivation was very personal. And obviously what the imperialist does very well is that he plays on those weaknesses. The second thing I want to tell you is, so peace is also not an absence of war, right? For a society or a population or group of people to be at peace, as you say, there has to be justice. So, and this is a very different for not just a Western trained audience to listen to, but it's also difficult for me as an African to understand how the world understands peace, so justice for that matter. So for the most part, the way we understand justice, and I hear this in the narratives that you have, that barbecue must be, brought to justice, and, he needs to be arrested, and, and we can't negotiate with this person, etc. And there's a place for that in retributive justice, right? Where when someone does something to you, you return in equal measure, right? So that the scales are balanced. That is a very Western view of justice. In Kenya, in many parts of Africa, you've had this word called Ubuntu. In many of these societies, if someone made a mistake or did something wrong, there was also a restorative justice. That's what happened in Rwanda. Barbecue has abducted thousands of people, maybe. In Rwanda, millions of people were killed by their neighbors, right? And it's a country that had to find a way to live with each other, right? How do you do that? In the Congo, in South Sudan, in Somalia, even Kenya, by the way. Even in Kenya. The way you get to that is through restorative justice, because these are your community. These are the young men who are being used to do this dirty work in Haiti. Those are the young boys in the streets. Those are the young boys who went to school. And these are the young boys who are part of that community, and there's nowhere they're going. They have sisters, they have brothers, they have relatives in those communities. So how do you reintegrate those people? After all this, after everything is said and done, how are you going to reintegrate those people back into the fold? I want to also just answer to an issue. There were a lot of issues raised, but there's one particular one I want to deal with. So you talked about Mau Mau, and the Mau Mau was a militia group or a ragtag army from a very specific region of the country. In fact, the region where we both come from, Central Kenya, very militant. And the reason was most of the land that was grabbed by the British was in what they call the White Highlands, which was traditional as Kikuyu lands. So they go into the forest and they fight this revolution. And ultimately, around the time the revolution ended, we got independence. But independence was not only got at the barrel of the gun. There was also a lot of negotiation that happened behind the scenes. There was the Lancaster House Conference, which negotiated a steady move towards decolonization over a period of 10 years, right? So the point I'm making here is, yes, we have a situation in our hands where a lot of harm is being done to the communities. There's obviously neo-colonial undertones, but surely there's a way forward. And that way forward is not going to be through retributive justice. Too much has gone wrong in Haiti for us to start pointing fingers at each other. And that's what I mean by the house is divided, right? I'll end by saying this. And I look at this whole removal of the Black race from Africa into the diaspora differently, slightly differently. So you can look at it in the way it has been described here, where we're saying, oh, we sold our people and all these things. But our ancestors gave blood, sweat, tears, broken bones, and their lives for where we are today, right? And I want you to go home with this thought that when they enslaved our people, when they confined our people, they also expanded our territory. Think about that for a moment. Africa is one of the largest continents, but we're also one of the largest distributed peoples in the world today. So Haiti is part of Africa because of the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors. And they've just simply expanded our territory. We hold some of the most valuable land in the world, right? The entire Caribbean, a good chunk of Latin America, a good chunk of the US, most of Africa. So let's do something positive with that, right? And I'll assert and continue to advocate for this, that a house divided against itself, including with even the worst members of that house, simply will not stand, because they have a stake in the country as well, but they also have a lot of power that, if correctly channeled, can resolve some of the conflicts that you have in Haiti today. Thank you.
To that, I'll go ahead and answer the question that you asked. Who are those gangs? Barbecue is not the only gang member in the country. Barbecue is the leader of the coalitions. So you hear his name. You hear Barbecue's name more because he's the media face for the gangs. So even within his coalition, there are some members who are not part of the coalition. So when you look at mainstream media, you will hear Barbecue. You will hear L'Homme Sans Joue, qui est bas, qui pape vape. So Barbecue is in the Delma area, and L'Homme Sans Joue is in the Guadeloupe area. You have Chrysla, who's up in Carrefour area. And then you have Tilapli, who's in the Grand Ravine area. I'm not sure if you're familiar much with Haiti. Then you have Izo, who's in the Village de Dieu area. And then you have Jeff Canara, who's in the Titanien area. And the Canara area is an area where the money that was to come from the earthquake that people collected here. So those people who were living in tents, the institutions who had received those money, they went in Canara and built small shelters to move, because Mateli wanted to move the people out in the main Port-au-Prince area. So Canara, where Jeff Canara is leading right now, did not have anybody in there before the 2010 earthquake. Those people went to go live there afterward. And the little houses you find there, those are some of your tax dollars, those big projects that was supposed to rebuild Haiti. That's what gave us Jeff Canara.
But you said these people represent other interests. Who are these gangs or these different folks? What people who are out? These are non-Haitians, corporations or other individuals. So if you had some sort of chart, you would list, well, this is actually this group, this is actually this entity.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, so next time we'll have a visual. That is because different people have different way of understanding it. So when you look at the gang, so with L'Homme Sans Joue in Croix-des-Bouquets, there's a gold mine over there in Croix-des-Bouquets. So that has some part to do with the Dominican Republic, the business sectors in the Dominican Republic, and then of course the US Embassy who needs access to that. Izo in Village de Dieu, that's petroleum. That's access to the ocean. So yeah, they deal with the business sectors in Haiti who need the port entry, again, the rice coming through. So those are those kind of folks. And then you have Jeff Gaulois, and then there's the people who's up in Cité Soleil. Cité Soleil have always had some issues. So they are the gang there, and then that's a port area as well. So they have their connection. So the people who runs the businesses, the 1% who control 48% of Haiti's wealth, they hired these individuals to watch their businesses so other people will not go steal their stuff. So they kind of provide that economic sources for them. But once you start paying, if today you give me $10 to hold weapons to do something, tomorrow I can come and ask you for 100. The day after that, I come and ask you for 500. So that's what happened. They start small. The same politicians who gives the weapon and said, okay, make sure I win these elections. Then the next day, okay, the election is over. I have to feed my wife. I got to take care of my children. You got to give them some more. Exactly. I have a gun. And that's how it started.
So if you want the Congressional Black Caucus, for example, to address this, is there a link or a website or something that people can be educated within the Black Caucus and things that have interest for African Americans and Africans in the diaspora, AD? Because most people don't understand. And if you have information that breaks it down, so Because the politicians are not experts. They don't know anything unless advocacy groups tell them what's going on.
The Congressional
Okay,
Black
so-
Caucus is fully educated,
Yeah,
Can I
but I
say
think the
fully
question,
aware.
Can I say
there's a
something?
question.
For
Sorry.
the sake of the audience, maybe also just explain a little bit about the Tontomacoutes and the origin of these gangs to,
Yeah, I know.
for those who don't know, like.
Yeah, and also
I'm
another
not
question
familiar.
which is being asked that I hear it, but I don't know it well enough to give you an answer. But the other question that's being asked is there seems to be another layer in between the U.S. government and the gangs whom they control. Who are these people?
The business sectors. Remember,
Who are they? Who are
the business sector in Haiti, they are the boulos. They are we have boulos is into medicines, is into pharmaceuticals, and then you have the Bao family. We have also the textile industry. Those folks who produce clothes in Haiti get sold to Targets, to Walmarts, to Hanes. So all of that comes into place. You need cheap labor market. So even companies here in the US who are bargaining with those business people in Haiti, they need that labor. So if you have a Haiti who's fully subsistence where people are doing college level things, then you will no longer have cheap labor market. In terms of, if you're looking at agriculture, when we produce organic things and people eat food and stay healthy. But then if you look at here, the NIH want to test their medicines. You get friendly with the doctor who's running the hospitals in Haiti that allow them to facilitate the medicines that they are testing. Then the Haitians become the guinea pig. It's a pattern, it's a process that's been there for years. So I'm saying the gang that they are calling gang, it's a term, it is actually, if I'll say the NGOs generated that terms to coin it, to give it to the people, like the young men who are calling themselves revolutionary. So to Barbecue, the leader of the coalition, he's fighting for freedom. But then the questions we ask, which freedom are you fighting for? That's where it is. If you're fighting for freedom, you don't burn the people who's not making any money's house. You don't kidnap them. You target the empire. So the issue the populations have with him, he's not targeting the empire. He's speaking the media and tell the media, I'm targeting the empire. But in essence, he's targeting the population he's supposed to be protecting. That's where the challenge. Yes, we're going to need to make peace with all of us in Haiti. That is definite. But what you also need to understand what's happening in Haiti, long after 1804, Dessalines was assassinated, there's been a fight, this thing, this movement, this organizing, underground organizing to have another revolution. A revolution that will allow Haitians to control the politics of their country. Because since 1915, we have not controlled our politics. We have not controlled the decision-making process in our nation. It gets decided in Washington, because if Haiti succeeds, then there will be an example for other Black countries, for other Black people. Keep Haiti down, keep them divided. It was Roosevelt who said it. It is not I. You got to divide the people who are walking barefoot and not allow them to come together. So it's a lot of work. Haiti is hard. It's a complicated issue, and it will take hours for me to dissect each and every piece of them to get there. The Toussaint, that was also part of the U.S. system. That was from the army that the U.S. created. The Toussaint was created by the Duvalier, supported with U.S. dollars to maintain controls. Because control is what you need to have over the people to prevent them from rebelling. It's innate in our blood. We fight for freedom. We resist. Every time you oppress us, we're going to resist. So the gangs, the more you corner them, the more they spread, the more they create. You can kill one leader, but the next day you're going to find another one to take their place. So it's a complex issue, but at the core of it is an imperialism. Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Miss Eugenia, first of all, it's a pleasure and a privilege to meet you in this forum because I listen to you every week and you're absolutely the most wonderful advocate for Haiti. It's just marvelous. But I need to say this, and I, at the risk of sounding really simplistic, what comes to my mind is that you do, oh, what comes to, is that it? What comes to my mind is that no imperial power leaves a place of oppression on its own. No imperial power. And so while we are analyzing the situation and educating ourselves, which is critically important, we have to recognize, even by the examples that we have here in this country, once the European set his foot on this land, ask the Native American what happened as a result of that. And so we can talk about a variety of strategies, but until there is some commitment to a revolution that is grown within Haiti, and that the rest of the African diaspora of which we are a part, and we are very comfortable, but of which we are a part, where we can contribute and support. We're talking because the United States has such a hold on that place. It is not going to give it up. It is not going to do that. So there's no point in just saying, well, if this group would just do this and they should get together and talk and meet and commiserate and organize. No. The United States, first of all, they've never forgiven Haiti for being independent. And so they are part of this punishment that's going on. But I just need to say that because I feel tremendous frustration and I feel so sad that I can't do very much except to make a contribution. I'm so old now that I can't fight. Well, I guess I can fight in other ways. But really, let us recognize what the problem is. Imperialism. Thank you.
You can be there.
Hi, I'm Jeff Kennedy.
Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you for your wisdom and sharing today. One of the things we heard when we had Congo on your mind is the same system that was used in Haiti. Papa Doc Duvalier was strengthened by race science, by separating Haitians by color, skin color. I think it was one point, there were almost 200 or more definitions of race in Haiti by complexion of your skin. This was done throughout Africa. In 1883, when they came up to the Berlin Conference, they also came up with a word called eugenics. And they used that. The president of Rwanda, I said this last time I was here, the president of Rwanda said he spent 20, 25 years getting out this eugenics system out of Rwanda. Science is what's holding Black folks back. Basic biology. I know when I'm talking to my frat brothers, I say, did y'all ever take a biology class? And it's funny because we're in the building now. This used to be the headquarters of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, the national headquarters. One of our founders' name was Ernest Everett Just, professor at Howard University. He proved that Darwin was wrong. Haeckel was wrong, that the race science that they used was wrong. Antonio Furman, who was Haitian, did a book to prove Gabineau was wrong. And I asked, and it's funny because I was coming back from London, from the young man who's from Kenyan right here, and I was sitting next to the Kenyan Assistant Secretary of Treasury. And I told him about the conference I went to. He said, wow, I'm glad we don't have that system in Kenya. and my head almost fell off on the plane. I said, not only do you have that system in the Kenya, you lost hundreds of thousands of people through that system. And I said, there's a book called Kenyan Eugenics by a young lady named Chloe Campbell that I'm gonna show you, couldn't get on the internet but he had never heard. I said, you were educated by a system. Yeah, miseducated by a system that promoted that middle class that you talked about, that Holly was talking about. That middle class has a purpose, and that is to control that poor class, all around the African diaspora. I mean, this ain't brain science. You got to figure out, wait a minute, something has happened all throughout the world that has led this small minority to figure that they can rule over the people of color. I mean, I can't say most children. I know what I did as a child, as a very young child, like whatever they teaching them, I don't want to have anything to do with it because they can't figure out we are all human. So that system of miseducation that you aren't very often going to hear about through the science. And I just said, have you heard of the science? Did you go to a university where they taught you about this science, of playing people against each other based on skin color, giving them advantages and more rights than you do somebody else by the shape of their nose or by the shape of their forehead or by their complexion? You know how silly that is? But thousands, hundreds, millions of people have died behind silly science created by Charles Darwin's cousin, Francis Galton. Darwinism. Last week, the president of the United States, and I'm gonna let this go because I want to get too long-winded. The president of the United States, March the 27th, said that race is biological. How many people knew that? On March the 27th, he put out an executive order saying race is biological. We've known for at least 90 years that race is a social construct. What does that mean to your human, civil, and constitutional rights? Are we back at Darwinism where it says that blacks are part ape? And you really have to ask the question, where are they going with that? Why would you need to classify race as biological? Is there anything in the 13th, 14th, and 15th amendments that give blacks the rights of humans? Is there anything in the US Constitution that says blacks are human? So people have to ask the question. Non-humans don't have civil rights too. I mean, constitutional rights, by the way. That has been affirmed by this US Constitution over and over again. So don't think they just sitting in the White House, just scratching their heads, just coming up with what can I do worse today than I did yesterday? Or what can I do worse tomorrow than I did today? They have studied this. I've talked to them twice in the White House. And I know for a fact that they think this way all the way. What does it support? What does this race science support? Capitalism. Now, you ask somebody to study it or read it and watch the brainwashing kick in. It's embarrassing. I get tired of saying it. I know a woman that's in a corner right there named Dr. Frances Quest Wells and taught me about it when I was 11. But I would have known about it when I was 9 because I seen it on a show that my cousin produced. This ain't brain science. And I yield.
Thank you, my brother.
Excuse me, my sister, let me add a few things because we have young people. My brother, let me tell you, you're wrong. The Mau Mau is not a revolution. It's an uprising, and it was a coup d'etat of the Kenyatta class. and the British at Lancaster House that decapitated the Mau Mau movement, number one. So do not call them revolution. To me, revolution would have been a total revolution where Kenya would not have been taken back by the English idea of change. So please, my brother, we have a lot of students here. We're next to a university. Lancaster House has never been about revolution. Lancaster House is where white people finally realize they're defeated, and then they want to meet you. That happened to Zimbabwe, and look what happened in Zimbabwe. Every time we go to Lancaster, it is not because the Black Revolution is winning. It is to offset the Black revolutionary journey and create a Black nationalist government. And to me, in Africa, Black nationalism is the pitfalls of Black nationalism is what we see: poverty, disease, and war. That's the pitfalls of Black nationalism. Africa is under Black nationalism, but not necessarily Black government for Black people. Let's make this clear. Kenya is a neo-colonial country. When I went to 1978 to do a film, all the way I was going towards Zimbabwe, Mozambique. In Kenya, where my brother is from, I was asked by the Minister of Information, when I asked permission to shoot, he asked me point blank, if you're a communist, if you have a communist idea, you can't shoot film in Kenya. That's the rules. The Information Minister, not seeing a script, who you are ideologically, that is Moya's time, who came after Kenyatta. Kenyatta himself compromised. He's the first neo-colonial government in East Africa. Compromised his own belief. And so for me, Black nationalism has been what we've been tricked. It's not for, the change is not for Black people. It's a middle class Euro-Americans create in our country, a middle class they created, which is part of the American empire. Those middle class Africans compromised the historical process of a true revolution from coming into fruition. So to me, let's not mix this up. My brother, I'm telling you, I think you called it initially. It's a mercenary journey. Let's not take it away from Haiti. I'm looking for firebrands from the young Kenyans from Kenya to still do this. When we do Haiti again, we hope to score young Kenyans who rebelled against this government. Okay, and it was a rebellion, a very significant rebellion by young people in Kenya. And so as far as I'm concerned, we want to hear from them about the situation in Kenya, the poverty in Kenya, the land amassed by so many classes that completely always overthrow the idea of militancy and revolution and change. So for me, I'll say this: Africa is not made a revolution for real. Once we go to settle with them, it happened to Zimbabwe. When Mugabe wanted to bring the land to the people, it was late. I was there immediately after the revolution to make a film. And when I was there, what I found out was they were compromising. They had signed things that even Nyerere told them not to sign, allowing white people to be represented beyond their population proportion, to guarantee them have power, continued power. The land problem we saw, which is going to manifest in South Africa also, because again, brother said a very interesting thing. The South African young people will tell you truth and reconciliation is a middle-class South African proposition. It doesn't have freedom in it. It doesn't have the issue of land in it. Wasn't it the land why white people came, overthrew the people, made them their farmers, their slaves, their servants, and then they can't come back into their own land? And now white South Africans are saying, they're enjoying black government because at least now they don't spend money on security. Black farmers are saying this by interview and film. We are protected better by the new South African government. Again, black nationalists, middle class black people. I think for you young people, you should read Frantz Fanon. Okay, The Pitfalls of Black Nationalism. When we only concentrate on race and not understand this, the role of class, we get what we have in Africa now, across the continent. We have middle class takeover, which is a Kennedy Eisenhower idea. Pump Africa with middle class people, miseducate them, put them in power, and confuse the African Revolution. That's why Lumumba is overthrown. That's why Nkrumah is overthrown, etc., etc. So as far as I'm concerned, the Lancaster House is not a triumph. It's a compromising political activity that takes place to still give white people the upper hand of African resources. Now, that's one. The other one I want to say is this. To me, the Haitian gangsters, the thieves, the crooks, they're not about Haiti. They're not about Haiti. They're thieves. They're criminals. Okay? So as far as I'm going, you talk about cartels, the cartels in Mexico, the drug cartels. These are criminal cartels in Haiti. What are we calling them? Who wants to sit down with criminals? I don't care if they're black. A black criminal don't make a black citizen. So please, my brother, please, seriously, your insight as you entered into the conference, into the discussion today was very impressive. I don't want to negate that, my brother. I learned a lot of particular points you brought. But I think peace, the brother said it better than I would ever. I like the English language. Peace to whom? For whom? By whom? As far as I'm concerned, my brother, I don't know if you're paying attention. We're going to kill each other in Ethiopia again. As if we haven't done it. We've done it already over 10 times, killing each other. The mediation of Kenyatta's son is not holding nothing. Is again, criminals, war criminals meeting, and the young people who died in Ethiopia alone, young people who should be in school, killed in masses for this people now you call the peace we're making peace with. They should be tried. If they were not black, if they were not killing black people, they would be tried. The other thing I want to say, I'm making a film now on the Ethiopian-Italian War. I want to say this. No one was tried for the crime committed by Italians against Ethiopians. Germans were tried and hanged. No single Italian was, and the massacre, the war began in Ethiopia. Second World War begins always in Hungary or Poland where Hitler goes. It began in Ethiopia in 1935, 5-6 years earlier. Poison gassed millions of Ethiopians, my ancestors. My father fought there, okay? And so to me, we live in this white supremacy paradigm. We use their languages. For example, Kenya, I have a precious feeling about Kenya. Kenyans came with 3 British leaders into Ethiopia when the Italians were defeated, overthrown, the last phase of the war. Kenyans died mass. Sikh Indians died. In one war alone, 5,000 Sikh Indians died. No monument. Kenyans died. No monument. Nigerians died. No monument. Tanzanians died. No monument. Somalians died. No monument in Ethiopia. But there's a Churchill Road in Ethiopia. A monument for British school is created for them by the emperor who was installed by the British into Ethiopian history. So as far as I'm concerned, we are black people, and I can speak for Kenyans too. We're compromised people by our middle class. That's why we live banished and exiled and not in our own under the equator enjoying our sunshine. So for me, it's a very serious matter. That's why I created this, so we can really educate each other and create young people who will not compromise the history of black people. Always black people are compromised in every treaty. Okay, and I'm my brother. This is my place. I'm sorry to be a case with you, but it's really a serious issue for me because we're tired of black nationalism. And I think this Hutu, whatever his name is, your guy, is a very dangerous guy. Very dangerous. At least Kenyatta knew the contradictions when he was getting into. He knew, and he was juggling within that. This guy's mindless, as you said yourself, very mindless. And we should not let young people know that they should graduate to be antagonistic, contradictory peacemakers. One thing, to me, antagonistic and non-antagonistic. To me, this barbecue guys, I'm criminal, antagonistic. But there are other forces where your point could be used. There are other people within Haiti that a negotiation could take place to create a united front, but not with criminals, killers, rapists. We can never rehabilitate those people. They will again break away. They did in Ethiopia. They broke away after having killed many thousands of Ethiopians. My brother, I have lost relatives in the Ethiopian war. And for me, this hooligan should have been tried, that Kenyatta, the son, was making peace, making them talk. And they said they made peace. They signed, they hugged each other, drank their whiskey, and then went back and started a war again. So I'm saying this is why it's not a principled sector of society to have peaceful coexistence with. We have to isolate. I don't think we should bring criminals to the real issue of Black people, that is shelter, food, and medicine, not buy guns to kill each other. Our civilization is what? Disease. What are we known for? Disease. What are we known for? War. We buy the most weapon for what? We don't know. And this continent is sick continent. Our middle class have failed us from South Africa to Senegal, East and West. Thank you very, very much. I'm really sorry. It's a very serious matter.
You have a lot of passion. You have a lot of passion.
And I hope, my brother, seriously, let me tell you, my brother, I hope I didn't alienate you. I hope you'll come back.
No,
with
absolutely not. I hear you. I hear you in that respect, because you know, I'm going to offend you when I say this, but yeah, the whole time I've been sitting here listening, I'm also a very hard person to offend or rattle. I mean, in fact, that's why they brought me here. I'll listen. As a Kenyan, I'm sitting here thinking, this is why we have to come mediate fights in Ethiopia, South Sudan, Uganda, Congo. This is why we have to come and mediate, because we come with a very different mindset about conflict. I'll give you a good example of one conflict Kenya, Ethiopia, South Sudan, previously Sudan, and partly Uganda have had. So the mythical kingdom of Wakanda is in a place on the map, literally. If you go online and check, where is Wakanda? It's located in a place called the Ilani Triangle, which is part of East Africa, but it's one of the most contentious border conflicts, and the longest, by the way, in the world. So it came out of a treaty in 1895, and there's a strip of land about 14,000 acres squared that's in contention between three countries. But Kenya has specifically refused to fight over it, right? If this was in any other part of the world, 14,000 square kilometers, that is not a little land. It's about this, I think, maybe even larger than Haiti. It's a very big, swath of land. But we've specifically refused to fight over it. Because what we are not saying here is that if everybody stops fighting, then we can come to solutions. But when you're pointing guns at each other, right? And I understand this idea behind revolution being violent, being extreme, being forceful. I understand, right? With the Mau Mau in Haiti, with the gangs that think that they're revolution, with the groups overseas that are pushing in the opposite direction. But until everybody puts their guns down, you're not going to be able to negotiate the peace. That's the point I'm making.
Can I say
Final
something?
closing,
Yes.
So we're taking closing
So I
remarks
come,
as well. So
I
we can...
come from a line of Mau Mau. and my grandfather still feels very strongly about the Mau Mau. Jomo Kenyatta, the first president of Kenya, does not quite represent the spirit of the Mau Mau. In fact, Dedan Kimathi, who was killed, right, who I think was sold out, right, by Kenyatta. Yes, he was sold out. He was, I think, going to be the president. You know, he wasn't, I don't believe in negotiations like that. It's just me. So I don't I share a little bit, but not completely what my brother is saying in terms of peace. And it's because also I'm a Kenyan Gen Z. And during this Gen Z protest, so many things emerged, right? I used to call the Kenyan president the butcher from Sogoi. I remember one time I had a picture of him with like horns and, you know, demon horns. And there was people who were telling me, oh, you should go light on the president. He's still a human being, that you shouldn't call him, you shouldn't put that picture on him. But this was the same person who massacred people in a church praying and had them burned down. This is the same person who deployed the Kenyan military to shoot young protesters when they were singing, we are peaceful, you know. So this issue of barbecue, I wish I could, maybe I need to read and more, but I just don't think there should be any negotiation because of what we've seen. Collaborators, people who collaborated in the past, especially I'll say during when Africans were fighting for independence, the reason it got really delayed is because of the collaborators, right? So I don't think there should be room for collaborators. Sometimes, yeah, maybe in other aspect of it, but if we're talking about serious issues of like what is happening in Haiti, where women are being raped every day, children are being raped, young women, young guys have machine guns and are being deployed to be like paramilitary, or gang members. I don't think we should have room to put people like that on the table. I think we should first have them eliminated, then we work on peace, rebuilding and reshaping and bringing those doctors, teachers back, and, you know, stabilizing the country economically, but also on a mindset, right? And I do agree Kenya or Africa has a lot of decolonization of the mind that we have to do. I think that the African diaspora, the Black American, African, Black people are more Pan-African than Africans are. That's what I think. And this is coming from also the history that is taught in our schools, right? They teach us Ludwig Kraft discovered Mount Kenya. Like, that is the dumbest thing ever. No, it's in our books. But when you think about it, we had our ancestors worshiping in those mountains for centuries, right? But the books say it is Ludwig Kraft. So, you know, you just have so many things that we need to work on as a continent. Things as simple as the Peterson map being used and not the Makeda map being used. Things as simple as that need to change the course of history so that we can be able to look at things on a different angle and move forward. And to young people, when we lose our fear, we lose our power. They lose their power. When we lose our fear, they lose their power. Yes.
Good closing. So I'm going to say, I'll take it after I'm finished on the side. I'll take it on the side. But I want to say, if Jean-Jacques Dessalines compromised with Napoleon, Leclerc Bonaparte, Haiti would not be free. There come a point when you have to solve a problem, and you solve it and you move on. When you are traveling, a lot of people get on the bus, but we do not get off at the same bus stop. You may end up with just one person, sometimes three. But at the beginning, we are all on the bus. Right now, there are a lot of people on the bus cheering for Haiti. We are not going to get off at the same stop. Not everybody is going to make it through the revolutions. We understand that. But Haiti, to move forward, to keep standing, needs a revolution. And there cannot be a compromise with any imperialistic ideology. I thank you all. My brother Jordan, thank you. Harry too, thank you. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, Mama Eugenia. Really quickly, from Mama Eugenia, Please, one more time. And if you appreciate this energy that Mom Eugenia brings, which I know we all do, you can catch her. You have the privilege of being able to catch her every single week from 7 to 8 p.m. on Wednesdays at 89.3 FM on your radio dial or WPFWFM.org. We have, of course, and thank you to our panelists. Thank you for what you brought to this conversation, enriching it so much. Both of you, thank you so much, so much. Yeah.
Fanfan, merci. I want to thank Fanfan for coming in tonight to play with us. Fanfan is a great fan, and he's giving us some.
And if you're still amenable to it at the late hour, Fanfan, we had one more performance from Fanfan to close out our evening.
Yes.
While he's preparing, I want to say this to any young people, especially. Get hold of Jefferson writing on Haiti. He is very obsessed about Haiti. Jefferson is the intellectual mindset of the United States. All the intellectuals, when it comes to Jefferson, lose their intellectual center of gravity. So it's very important. You should see how much obsessed he was. He wouldn't even free his own enslaved people because of Haiti. He kept saying he was so hurt and defeated the way Haitians defeated the French. And so he wanted to make sure that the Black Americans don't repeat what they saw in Haiti. But just read him. Read Jefferson. You will know the psychic of the white supremacist mindset in America, as far as I'm concerned. So you don't even just go read him, and you will see why is he always obsessed. When he was asked about freeing his own enslaved people, he said, "Look at Haiti. I don't trust it." Throughout, read it and then come. Let's discuss more. But Jefferson is your source.
And Banneker too. He didn't like Banneker.
No, Phyllis Whitley too. He didn't like her. Oh, where's Jeff? Where's Jordan? Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Thank you for coming.
All right, folks. We do.
Thank you, my brother. Yeah, I know. Where people also get relief. Talk about Bookman experience, Victor.
Bookman experience.
How was it formed? I remember you guys, so I'm going to ask you two things.
From the same idea of starting a revolution, of creating something out of the ordinary, and yeah, that's the birth of this movement, basically. Yeah.
And who's Bookman?
Bookman was the hero of the Haitian independence. There is so much confusion about him. They say he was from Jamaica. Some people say he was from, but that's an export that came to Haiti to help in the battle of the independence. Some even say Bookman. Yeah, Bookman. They call it Dirty. Some they call it Dirty Bookman because some people say he was a voodoo priest or also.
It's like that. The Denmark basically had Jack. What's his name? Jack. It's book. It's a very spirit. All revolutionaries have spiritual components.
So, yeah. So, yeah.
So you are musicians. Why Bookman? Bookman is a
Okay, the idea was okay. Even the name, that was from my anyway. It was first was from love of Jimi Hendrix. That was okay. The experience came from the Jimi Hendrix experience because we had no, it was a LP at the time. It was one side Jimi Hendrix experience, the other side was Otis Redding. So it was just like I was in love of Jimmy, but I wasn't a guitar player at the time. So when I got the chance to initiate that movement, the Bookman experience, so it was just like making a correlation between Bookman and Jimi Hendrix experience. So that's how the name came out, Bookman experience.
I see it in your strumming.
I'm still trying.
Yeah,
Still trying.
you're good. But the other thing I want to ask you, is it your group that was in Martinique around the late 80s?
80s, yeah.
Did you meet me in
Maybe.
Martinique?
I don't know, maybe.
Okay, I want to tell you guys, when I was doing Sankofa, okay, without budget, I met them in Martinique performing. And I knew they were going to be the music for my film. So, yeah, and I don't think, it's when I heard he's from Bookman Experience, I said, I'm going to talk to this brother here. And then what happened was, there was another group like them in Ghana I met, very spiritual. I met them in a jungle. And then I said, they belong for that film. And then in Cuba, I met this sugarcane dancing. That also is about marronage and rebellion, things Black people do before they rise up. And so I'm going to put these 3 Black people from 3 continents without money, and they're going to be in my film. And my dream, my plan didn't happen because I'm not the son of Bank America. But it was an amazing idea because Bookman Experience in Martinique, you know Amy Césaire? The governor. Okay. Amy Césaire was the governor. He was there for their music. He's the one who wrote The Discourse of Neocolonialism, his book we have here. And they were there, and then we were a group of African-American filmmakers, and we were invited in Martinique to show our films. And then I meet them. They were amazing. And I said, I'm going to put them in the plantation story as like enslaved population joining and doing their music at all times. It's something I learned, studied in Haiti. In Haiti, how there was this village, African village music that happened and nobody knew because they were so tired. But when that music is played by the group, they suddenly are resurrected from hard work. And they were the ones who represented that music for me. My brother, I wish my dream had come true. I would have known you better. No, financed it. I will do a movie with them. Thank you for coming and blessing us. I wish my wife was here because I told her many times about the group I'm going to. Thank you again, my brother. And this guy also is radio, but she's just here. You know about your group? It's from their radio station. The Brooklyn Experience.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you so much. We'll be back. We'll be back in 2 weeks for Gaza on Our Mind. So we'd love to see you again 2 weeks from today for Gaza on Our Mind. Thank you.